Welcome to Mindflow Radio.
Mindflow Radio.
We're your hosts, Lynn and Lamont McPheron.
We are all in this
Together.
Reverence for all life. 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 Compassionate beings, be all that you can be. Unified in diversity. Compassionate beings, be all that you can be. Be unified.
All right. So we are
Mindflow
Radio.
on the air
On the air.
in this moment.
Yeah. Recording live from IMI Studio.
Thank you, universe.
Yeah. Thank you, universe. You just got to be a part of our live practice with a beautiful song that we created a while back called Reverence.
Yeah.
And it's about being reverent and compassionate
To all beings.
to all beings.
Does that include animals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does it include moths that eat my rice?
Are moths beings?
Oh, man.
What about
have a
ticks,
real...
man? What about mosquitoes?
Yeah.
Oh, we're being compassionate to ourselves by
Really?
by
Defending ourselves from these creatures that eat
Which is
our food
important.
in our bodies.
peace through strength,
Yeah. I do wonder, if that's okay
Oh yeah.
to defend ourselves from things that eat us.
Well, if we let ourselves get sick because of tick bites and mosquito bites and moths in our food, we're not being very respectful to our own vehicles.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. That makes me feel so much
The body is the temple.
The body is the temple.
Temple of what?
I don't understand.
What
the
resides
question.
within our body?
Oh, the soul.
Oh. Yeah.
So he's Monty,
Yeah. And she's Jalen.
and we like sharing with our friends out there a little bit of ourselves. This is what we do here on this radio is just a slice of what we do all day, every day.
Yeah, it's true.
Just
It's
talking
true.
about mindful living.
We
and-
really try and walk the walk.
Yeah.
I mean, more than just talking about it, we try and do it.
Yeah.
We try and see the world through discerning eyes rather than
Yeah.
judgmental eyes. And
Yeah. And
We
then
try-
work through it if we do use judgment. 'cause
yeah,
It
and work
happens.
against- right. We work against old patterns of thinking that we consider unproductive and,
Yeah.
and we want to develop new, evolved patterns of thinking, essentially.
Yeah. Basically, we're seeking freedom.
Freedom from what?
Freedom from the ego controlling
Oh,
our minds,
yeah.
possibly.
Yeah, the agitated. Yeah, when the mind is agitated, the ego definitely takes charge.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, not that ego is necessarily a bad thing, because it's not. I mean, the ego is very important to help us by being the middle manager of our lives, right? The ego helps us pay the bills and do the dishes,
Yeah, it has its place.
but the ego is not designed to be the CEO of our, make all the decisions, the ego decision, which
yeah.
is kind of rampant in humanity. It's probably
Yeah.
the one thing that needs to change if we're to evolve collectively, is have the ego, have the ego in its place.
Yeah, I feel like it's to be expected because we aren't trained, unless we're raised in a Buddhist household or a Hindu household, we're not trained to check the ego.
Or Christian household. I mean, the
I don't
essence
know. I
of
was
all.
raised in a Christian
I know,
household.
but were you really?
Yes.
I mean, did your household believe in, was the philosophy love your enemies?
No.
Forgiveness for all beings, I mean, that's what Christianity really is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's the thing is even if we claim that we're following a certain guidelines for living right on the world, maybe we're skipping over things that are kind of important
Yeah.
and would bring to mind what is the ego.
Well, and essentially,
such.
if we're ego tripping, we're not following Jesus's philosophy or Buddha's philosophy or
Right.
Hindu philosophy
Yeah.
or, I mean, it's the ego tripping people are the ones who are creating the wars and full of hate and full of anger.
And feel right and justified.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that I have to say has been my epiphany for this week is reading the Bhagavad Gita, which is comparable to the Bible, and it's really interesting. If you want to check it out, or if you've already checked it out, it's like a slice of wisdom, how to live.
Yeah.
From Krishna to Arjuna, placed in the middle of this greater epic called the Mahabharata, which is about a war. And the slice of living is given when Arjuna, who's the head warrior, he's like, I don't want to do this. And he sets down his weapon, and it just happens to be that Krishna is by his side. And Krishna gives him this whole, it's 700 verses of living wisdom. And it was an oral tradition passed down and passed down and passed down. And then after the end of the 700 verses, then Arjuna's like, okay, I guess I'll do this. And then it goes back to the Mahabharata. So the war is not actually in the Bhagavad Gita, but for wisdom's sake, it's about the war within. It's the war with the ego. It's the war within
our own minds,
the old patterns.
Yeah, right.
So it's,
how do we win that war and achieve freedom? I mean, you were talking about freedom,
right? So this is my epiphany.
Yeah,
hearing about and I don't know where exactly in the Bhagavad Gita. I'm listening to an audiobook. I love audiobooks. And I do want to get a copy of the actual Bhagavad Gita translated into English. But anyway, so it's about service, karma yoga. Karma yoga is selfless action. And what is that? That's action that you make for the higher power in every moment in service to the higher power of everyone. And you do so in everything you do. You give the good, you give the bad, you give the sad, you give the happy, you give the reward, you give the failure, all to that higher power.
Yeah.
And so you're not seeking reward, which to me was like this huge, like, what? Because, I'm a business owner, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm trying to figure out how does this make money, and, really just thinking about success. How do we have success? And
what is success?
Right.
I mean, I think what you're
too.
saying, what success really is being in harmony with the higher power.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And then you're successful.
Yeah.
And that's something that maybe is not real popular in our culture, but maybe that's what we need to change our definition of success in general, and change our definition of freedom,
Yeah. So
they're interrelated.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it's like the freedom that I guess I'm seeking is not worrying about the reward, or not worrying about the financials, not worrying about how this is going to look in a year from now, but more just going, I feel the need to share this, and doing so because the inner voice says so.
Well, in a way, it's having faith.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're free.
So faith is freedom.
Free from the overbearing ego trip, which we all struggle with. I mean, we've been raised in this culture that's trained us to be egomaniacs, essentially,
Right.
And even all the screen time, all the TV shows I watched as a kid, they're all like, this is what it's like to be a guy. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to look like. This is the money you need to make. This is the car you got to drive, blah, 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 blah. It's all like bolstering egomania.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do we get beyond that? How do we become free from that? And I think what I'm hearing you say is this teaching, this Hindu teaching is helping you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's 4 main paths of yoga. There's karma yoga, which is the selfless action.
Yeah.
There's bhakti yoga, which I think I've really got down, and that's devotion, love, leading with compassion. There's meditation, the Raja Yoga, and what is the fourth one? Karma, Bhakti, Raja, Jnana, which is the study, self-study, or study. I think Svadhyaya. I'm butchering names here, sorry. But there's self-study, and then there's study of yoga. And study of yoga is jnana. And I feel like I have done that. I've done tons of training. I've got bhakti yoga down. I'm very devoted. I do my meditation every day. I love meditation, the Raja Yoga. And I was like, I think I probably do the karma yoga. And then I really dig into it, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing karma yoga. I got to figure this one out.
So you're trying to shift gears on that.
Yeah, I'm trying to embrace that too.
Less egocentric.
Yeah, and it's
a process.
It's freedom from doubt too, because if I am focusing on selfless action because something inside of me says this is the way to go. Yeah, something deep, and I'm not worrying about how much money it will make, and I'm not worrying about how many followers I'll have, and I'm not worrying about, like how many likes I'll get or whatever it is. Right. It's like just something deep inside of me says, share this. Yeah. And it's not about the outside gain. That's so freeing. It's like, okay. Yeah, right. I'll just do this.
It is. It's like a quantum leap in your state of consciousness. Mm-hmm. When you're able to achieve it. I'm assuming you kind of go back and forth.
I'm sure. It's just been a couple days of this epiphany. And I feel like I take that in when I'm working with clients, and I've got that karma yoga aspect.
And what do you do with these clients?
I work on helping people have a deeper experience with themselves through meditation.
You're a yoga therapist.
And yoga.
Yeah.
Yep. And I call myself a yoga coach.
Yoga coach, all
because there's something called yoga therapy out there, and my training, is more of a yoga coach.
Well, and you're a mindfulness instructor too, right? Would you say? Yeah, that's part of being a yoga coach, because yoga is all about just connecting. It's union.
True yoga is about mindfulness, and some yoga is more about the exercise, but some yoga is more about the internal processes within. Yeah. And those ones are the mindful yogas.
Yeah. And finding freedom, actually, essentially, freedom from like the overbearing past. And
and that's two-sided, right? Because sometimes we don't even know that we have an overbearing past, and that can come up and bubble up. Yeah. In practice, in any kind of mindful practice, or while you're watching TV and something triggers you and you're like, oh my gosh, that happened to me. Yeah. And so these bubbling ups, these waking up moments happen wherever. But when they happen in yoga and mindfulness, it's kind of nice, because then you have the practice to guide you through.
Yeah, essentially what I'm hearing is when like some kind of traumatic event perhaps bubbles up into our consciousness, we're able to look at that from a discerning perspective and hopefully let it go. Yeah. Because the problem is with trauma, a lot of us it bubbles up and we just like repress it. We push it back down into our subconscious.
I don't want to deal with that right now.
Yeah, and then we lock it up, and then it comes out again.
Or there's the repression side, and then there's just the expression side where we express it too much, and we're not actually, we ruminate on it. We start going around the samskara. The samskara is the record groove, the skipping record.
The mind pattern, yeah.
Yeah, and so you have the skipping record going in your mind, which we call rumination. But how to end that rumination, or how to end that repression. So there's, excessive expression, and there's repression.
Yeah, and finding the balance, and just ideally, using forgiveness and using our mindfulness skills to just let it go to the universe as much as possible. Yeah. I mean, it's it's hard to really achieve, true ultimate freedom from that. But
it's always a process. It's like a work in progress.
Well, perhaps that's what, that the state of enlightenment is when you get to that point of just complete forgiveness and complete union with the higher power. And
the Bhagavad Gita says that enlightenment is or moksha, liberation, which is enlightenment, is when you give everything to the higher power, to the one.
Yeah.
Everything.
And I would I would suggest that success is the state of moving in that direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
And then we're being successful. It's like, oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Then we're not too heavy with ourselves either. Oh, I failed.
I know. And I'm so like that. Like every day I've been known to be like, I didn't get enough done. There wasn't enough time today. I didn't get enough done on my list. And that is like my regular. I work on it, but it continues. It continues every day. I didn't get enough done. Enough done. And then, one day we were walking.
Yeah.
And Monty says to me, he's like, look at all the things that we've gotten done. And I bet every day you said I didn't get enough done. Yeah. And it just like hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not like celebrating my success. I'm not celebrating what I've done.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And if I were to look at this more from a karma yoga instead of, I have to get this done so I can finish this course so we can get it out. It's like, no, it's like all about creating this with soul. And that's the freedom.
Yeah, and being patient and understanding that the timing is right.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that we're like flawed humans and we don't always make the right step and sometimes we go down the wrong path. But in general,
perfect.
Yeah. If we can just it is all, and finding, just seeing clearly, trying to, as clearly as possible, seeing the soul within ourselves and the soul within everybody. Mm-hmm. And bam, there's no more prejudice.
Right.
Because we're all soulful beings. We're all these amazing God beings, like walking around the earth.
Yeah.
And the more we can realize that, the more in harmony we're going to be with the earth, and the more in harmony we're going to be with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, back to Christianity, perhaps love is the answer, loving our own souls and our own, and everybody else's too.
Love your neighbor, love your enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
maybe
it's
I'm
so
a Christian.
interesting.
I don't know.
Well, I was raised Christian and I absolutely love the Bible. I was the weird little girl sitting at the bottom of the stairs with my Bible and loved it.
Wow.
And now I'm diving into the Bhagavad Gita and I'm like, oh, this is like pretty much this. It's saying the same thing. And it's, except it's more accepting, and.
Well, I don't know.
So I really like it.
The vibe in general.
The vibe and
the people.
The people practicing it.
But there are true Christians out there too.
Oh yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Beautiful people.
Yeah.
Loving.
We've had some good times at the Franciscans. What is that called? The Franciscan Retreat Center.
Oh yeah. I used to live there.
Yeah. Lots of really awesome women running the Franciscan nuns.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful
living
beings.
The word,
Yeah, right. Creating this retreat center out of nowhere, and bam, they have like a retreat center worth like $3 million.
Yeah, and that's freedom too. It's freedom to manifest purely without expectation for the reward, and it's like, oh, the reward, awesome. Yeah, and then you're just like grateful for it, and in however that reward plays itself out, it's all again in surrender to the one.
Yes,
it's like, I got a reward, thank you, and I'm gonna use it to forward my progress.
That's the key, and not feel guilty about it, but actually use resources to make the world a better place.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I just had an image. I love when I get these. I got the image of a horse with a stick and the carrot in front of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, kind of never going to get that stick, you know.
Yeah.
But if it just shakes the stick and the carrot off and gets to run free with whatever's called on the inside, you know.
Yeah. Unless the ego's in charge, then you're going to be running into a wall or something.
Well, I think that's the carrot on the stick is the ego. Like, here's your reward out here. Go this way.
I see,
you know,
I
it's
see.
like the ego is holding it.
Yeah, I see.
But if you shake it off, then you're free.
And just develop that insight into being able to hear that subtle voice within. Because like the Quakers say, you know, if you don't have some quiet in your mind, you're not even going to be able to hear it. And then the ego's loud.
Yeah.
The ego shouts. Maybe the soul kind of speaks to us a lot of times, even in a way that transcends words.
Yeah.
It's more a feeling, you know, but if we don't have that quiet, if we're so caught up in the screaming ego all the time, then we're blind to the real message from the universe. You know.
So I feel like
let's find quiet. Yeah.
How do we do that?
Yeah.
Because that's hard. And I would say, you know, for somebody who's had a lot of trauma, sitting quietly is like, no. Not going to happen.
I would say Tai Chi is a good way.
Yeah,
Take a Tai Chi class.
Yep. Qigong's really good.
Qigong's
Yoga
great.
can be very helpful.
Yoga's great.
Slow movements with breath.
Yeah. Even just developing the habit of metacognition, which means being the observer of your own thoughts. The discerning observer of your own thoughts is something you could take with you anywhere, anytime. And it's a place that like quiets the mind.
Yeah.
Because instead of, you notice when the mind is chattering and you notice when you're ruminating and you start working against it, you know, through like deepening breath or.
So I want to share a skill.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would say I've been teaching this for a really long time, but I want to reference Tara Brach's book, Radical Acceptance. Beautiful book. Absolutely loved it. It was my first Buddhist reading. I learned a lot about Buddha for, you know, like I said, the first time. And one thing that she talks about is the night that he becomes enlightened and how Mara, the illusion, the tempter, and
screaming ego,
absolutely comes to tempt him, you know, and brings him pretty ladies and lots of food and anything a person could want, you know. And then it's almost dawn and Mara's like, okay, I'm losing this game. And he brings, or whatever, they bring self-doubt. Who do you think you are? Why do you think you're worthy? What are you thinking? You're nothing. You're a nobody. You don't deserve it, you know, and just like starts doing that. And I guess in the end, and I don't have the book in front of me, so I'm not quoting exactly. Mara says, you know, why do you think you deserve this? And Buddha just calmly puts his hand on the ground.
Yeah.
And grounds and becomes really present and like, what's real, you know, this moment. And puts his hand on the ground. And all of a sudden, everything starts shaking and you know, Mara disappears and the sun comes up and he's enlightened.
You know, that's one way of looking at that is at that moment, Buddha's connecting with the energy of the earth.
Yes, exactly.
You know, which is reality. Energy is reality. We think we're all, you know, we're so like word based. Like we think like words are reality for some.
Right. Energy is reality.
Yeah.
So you can say anything, but what's the tone behind it?
Yeah.
So the skill I want to share is grounding. And it's very simple. I have like a little bit of a unique take on grounding, and it's what I do personally. And I like to inhale and feel the crown chakra and allow it to open, feel receptive. Breathe down that divine energy through my spine, all the way into the tailbone, sits bones, pelvic bowl. So grounding into the root chakra, and then exhale and bringing that energy all the way down to my feet and grounding. I'm feeling as if I'm standing on freshly tilled soil and letting my feet just really be charged by earth energy.
Mm-hmm.
And just continuing that process, inhaling from the crown down into the tailbone, really feeling all of the spine being opened by this energy. And then exhale down the legs and rooting, grounding, connecting with the earth energy through the feet.
Mm-hmm. And you can do this even on the 50th floor.
Yes, because there's earth under you.
Oh, yeah.
It might be a wood floor. It might be even cement is earth, and so ground up rocks. And, so anything that's holding you is really an earth object.
Well, I would imagine,
it was
too,
made
the
here on
earth. Yeah, and the earth is underneath it all.
Yep.
Anyway, and the earth is just hugely powerful.
Yeah.
Relative to us,
Yeah.
just energetically. And we can hook into that anytime, any
Yep.
place.
Yep. So when you feel that self-doubt, when you feel the ego just rawr, who do you think you are? You're worth nothing, feel your feet. Put your hand down on the ground, or if you're sitting in a chair, feel all the parts of you touching down on the chair, If you're laying on a bed, feel all the parts of you laying down on the bed, touching the bed, and really just ground into this present moment. Connect. Yeah.
Connect with the moment.
And in that, you'll notice that you're busy feeling all the parts of you touching down, and your mind becomes quiet, even just for 1 second.
Well, yeah, and that's beneficial.
Yeah.
Even a second of freedom from the chattering mind. And you think of it as like the chattering mind disconnects us from the reality of the moment.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
we have to understand that reality is a transcendental state, a state that transcends words.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and to get there,
Absolutely.
it's super important. We all crave that. We all want to be in that place of transcendence, like periodically throughout the day. I mean, we all want that.
Yeah.
If you notice, whatever you're obsessed with, it's a something that puts you in the moment. Whether that's playing golf, it puts you in the moment. You're there. You're grounded, connected to the moment. If you're doing a good job, if you're in that zone,
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
So grounding is our skill for the week. And
thank you for
yeah.
that.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being here and talking with me. And
Yeah.
I so enjoy sharing my life with my partner.
Yeah, and we help keep each other on the path, essentially. So it's a healthy relationship.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not, we're flawed humans and yada, yada, yada. But in general, we're, to each other, we're like, are you going off the path?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have one more song for you today, and we just want to share that we really appreciate how our little Mindflow radio tribe is growing, and I hope that you're enjoying our little conversations.
Yeah,
music.
we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Together we're stronger, and we're energetically connected.
Yeah.
The high vibe, just like we can connect there in that place.
Yeah. So if this resonates with you, please share with your friends, and let's keep this tribe growing. And yeah, I think that's all I had to say. The next song we're going to play for you is Yantee, which is a very ancient Sanskrit song, and I've created some English lyrics to go with it to help make sense of it. So please enjoy and have a wonderful week. We'll be back next week.
your path. You are the one to know your truth. You can find your teachers and guides, and you can find the wisdom too. Have the courage to see all the sides. You know it all starts with you. You are the one to walk your path. You are the one to know your truth. And you can find the wisdom too. Have the courage to see all the sides. You know it all starts with you. Waheguru, 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 Waheguru. Celebrate, celebrate the divine within you. Celebrate, celebrate the divine within you. Celebrate, 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 yeah. Celebrate, 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 yeah. Celebrate, 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 yeah. Celebrate, 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 yeah. The divine within you. May we be blessed on our walk through this earth with joy, understanding, acceptance, and love. Thank you for your presence. You've been listening to Mindflow Radio. You can support Mindflow Radio on Patreon and get exclusive content access. Big gratitude to Lotus Head for their mindful music, keeping us in the flow. A shout out to our sponsors, Integrated Mindfulness Institute. Online, visit www.imi.earth. For ideas, questions, or comments, contact us by email, connect@imi.earth. Many blessings on our health and peaceful evolution. We are all in this together.